Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about this battle-ready lightsaber that I've been building over the past few weeks. I wanted to share what I've built and maybe help some of you do the same. At this point, the hilt is about 90% complete and there are only a few things left to do on it. I'm going to walk you guys through how I built this using common tools that most people already have in their garage. So if you're interested in making your own saber or even modifying an existing saber, then stay tuned. So let's take a closer look at what features this saber has. Currently there are no electronics inside it yet, but I'm currently designing a soundboard that will deck this thing out. If you're interested in that process, leave a comment and I can make a video about that too. This saber has a single action button right here in the middle. If you need two for your saber, it's pretty easy to add. You know, instead of drilling one hole, you just drill two. There's also a LED indicator on the side. I'm going to set that up to be a low battery indicator, but basically this is just a hole that you can pop an LED in. There's a thumb screw on the back here, on the back of the emitter, that acts as the blade retention. You can kind of see it going in and out there. So, but it's also like a decorative appeal. I chose to go red because I think it looks pretty cool. It fits standard 1-inch blades in the top. So most blades that go on the internet, the battle ready, thick walled, and the thin walled, they should all fit in here. And then you can put your LEDs in the hilt, or you can put your LEDs in the blade. In this case, I'm going to be putting mine in the blade, and I have the thick walled blade right here. So we have a Covertec clip at the bottom. I did not make this, I bought this, and I can show you guys later in the video where I bought all these little accessories and whatnot. And then we have the pommel at the bottom. This is a custom made pommel. I'll show you guys how I cut this out too and installed it. So this saber was made out of aluminum, all stock aluminum tube. The outside, these pieces were made out of 1.5 inch, and these pieces were made out of 1.25 inch, and the walls are all 1/8 inch. So that means that the pieces can fit together really nicely. As you can see here, this is actually stock that I had left over that are fitted inside of each other. So this stock is relatively cheap at your local hardware store. I paid about $20 for about 2 feet of the wider stuff, and then about 1.5 feet of this thinner stuff. And that was enough to make one whole lightsaber and have plenty of extra. You can also buy this stuff online. It's relatively cheap as well. Shipping is the most expensive for those places. So this is the basis for our design, is these material tubes, and we basically just cut them to fit around each other and cut them at different angles, as you can see, so that way we can get nice features and stuff. These bevels as well, these are harder to do, but I'll show you guys how I did them. It makes it look a lot cleaner compared to some other designs that people work on. Okay, so let's talk tools now. What do you need to make something like this? You're going to need a miter saw or a plastic miter box and a hand saw to make these angled cuts, and then also to make straight cuts out of your stock. You're going to need a drill for all these holes. You're also going to need drill bits of various sizes, and then a tap that matches what your screws are. So I have a tap here. This is a 8/32 tap. So 8 is the size of the screw and 32 is the thread count. It's a very standard size. It's very easy to find all of the screws that you need, especially these decorative screws. I'll show you guys where you can source those. And it's a pretty standard size, so I would recommend that you go with 8/32. You're also going to need a large drill bit for the hole or the button. My button, I needed a 1/2 inch drill bit, which is a pretty big size. It doesn't come standard in a lot of kits, so you might need to buy an extra size drill bit, but double check what size you need based on the button that you bought. I also used a rotary tool for cutting out this pommel insert, and then also for a few other small trimmings. You're also going to need a file for deburring after you cut. You gotta shave off all those sharp edges so they fit in nicely, and it also helps with smoothing out these bevels. You're gonna need sandpaper for finishing. As you can tell, this is the finished product. I might go one more pass through. This section is all finished with 3000 grit sandpaper. This section is just brushed. As you can see, all the scratches still. And then up here is also 3000 grit. Brushed is still better than stock. If you take a look at the stock metal, it's rough. So you're definitely gonna need to finish this unless you want to go for the rough appearance. I needed 5-minute epoxy to glue in this pommel. As you can see, I haven't fully finished sanding and finishing off the bottom here. There's still some epoxy and junk laying there. And then you're definitely gonna want a clamp or two to hold this stuff down while you work on it. It's very difficult to make some of these cuts and cut without having some clamps to hold down your material. You could probably do it without clamps, but I highly recommend that you get at least 2. It'll help you a lot in the process. So now I'm going to take this apart piece by piece and walk you guys through all the pieces that it takes to build this, and you can kind of see it for yourself what it actually is composed of instead of the finished product. So here are all the pieces taken apart now. As you can see, we have everything separated, screws up here, all the main pieces down here. This is the main body. This is the thinner metal, the 1 1/4 inch outside diameter, 1 inch inside diameter. It's pretty basic. It's just a 10-inch long piece. I have in the back here, I have a few holes that I drilled for this pommel, or sorry, for this blade retention screw. I actually put 2 here so that you can adjust the emitter as you please. So the emitter can slide in, and it can be this far out or it can be this far out. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I just wanted to have options. So then we also have the button here. This is just a 1/4 inch button, and if you take a look, all I did was file down a flat surface so that the button can sit flush on. This is pretty easy with a file. Aluminum is a very soft metal and can cut very easy. So that's how I did that. I left the button in because it's a pain to take out, but I do have another button here so you can see what it looks like. This is an LED button, so you have 2 leads for the button actually, and then the two leads for the LED, and it just has a screw on the back. So this whole button is pretty thick. That's why you need a thick drill bit to fit that in right. So looking further down, there's nothing else to it. The back, I didn't even really finish it because it's all covered up. As you can tell, the area that you actually do see is like a little bit lighter of a color. Everywhere else is darker because I didn't bother to worry about it. So the grip is actually just these 1/8 inch thick pieces that I cut out of the thicker 1 1/2 inch aluminum, and they just slide on. So I already slid a few on because they're a little bit tricky to get on. And all I did was alternate them with these O-rings. These O-rings are, I believe, 1 3/8, so they're 1/8 inch smaller than the smaller tube here. So they slide on really nicely. They basically just roll on, and I alternate them. They're rubber, so they give a good grip, and when you put enough of them, they look great because they're black against the aluminum, so they have a lot of contrast, and they're also very good to the touch, as you could say. So then we also have the emitter here, which I showed earlier. This is just a 45-degree cut on the old miter saw, and I had a flat cut on the bottom, a straight cut on the bottom, and then a bevel around the side. So this bevel, I'll show a picture on how I cut this. You put the saw to 45 degrees, and then you basically rotate the piece as you cut it, and you'd get a fairly good looking cut like that, and then you'd go back with the file and file it down later, and then finally sand it down so that it's smooth all the way around. I did the same thing with the main body piece where the blade actually fits in to give it a nicer appeal. You don't necessarily have to do these bevels. They are more difficult cuts, but in my opinion, they take the build to the next level because you don't just have straight pieces connecting to each other. They actually have like a small gradient going into the next piece. So next we have the pommel. The pommel, probably one of the more difficult ones since I cut this out of aluminum. What I did was I took, actually this was just some scrap I found laying around. I have no idea what this is from or for, but as you can also see in the picture, I cut a circle straight out of it with the Dremel and then used sandpaper and the file to slowly inch up to the size where it would be a near perfect fit, and then used epoxy to epoxy this in. It's not totally finished yet. You can see it's kind of bumpy. It looks kind of gross and it's not fully sanded. I'm gonna go back later and sand this up smooth so that it's an almost perfect transition from the tube to the actual pommel insert. And then this is where the speaker goes. The speaker is gonna go inside here, face down, straight on that, and that's how you're gonna get your sound out. And then of course there's a Covertec clip on here. You drill a hole in the side, you tap it, and boom. I bought this Covertec clip. I bought all these small components. I didn't make any of these. I'll show you in a minute where I got those from. And then here we have the retention, where the retention screw goes on. So this fits on the back like so. It's loose. So we have these little tiny, what they're called retention screws. They're itsy bitsy tiny screws that you use an Allen key to screw in, and those would go in that hole, and you tighten it up against the material, and then it would stay strong. As you can kind of see here, these are the markings where I tightened it, and it scratches the material a little bit. You never see this, but that's how they work. And then this is the piece that goes on top here, on top of the grips. I wanted another transition piece so there wasn't a hard transition, so I built this here, and it has the same little retention screw. I drilled all of this stuff out with a drill. I have a drill press as well, but I also did some with the drill, and it's just as easy. This material is very soft, so it's easy to cut through, and you don't need any special drill bits. You just need a regular wood cutting, regular metal cutting drill bit. Okay, so now we have all the little pieces up here, all the little screws and whatnot. These blade retention screws, the Covertec clip, and these tiny fasteners. I bought all this stuff on the Custom Saber shop. In my opinion, that was the cheapest place I could find all these tools. If you buy them separately from a hardware store, from another company online, you're going to be spending a lot of money because they come in packs of multiples. So these little screws usually come in packs of 20. I only needed, I think, 3 for this build, and they're only a few cents on the Custom Saber shop. Same with these thumb screws. They look really nice. They're expensive everywhere else, but on the Saber shop you can buy 1, 2, however many you want to do, and they'll ship it straight to your house. That's also where I got this Covertec clip, and it's a perfect fit with the outside diameter of this tube. So I'll put the link down in the description for that website. Take a look. You can source all of this hardware from wherever you want, but this was the cheapest place that I found, and it has everything you might need. So now I'm going to put this all back together in a quick time lapse so you can see how it all fits together. And then here we have the finished product again. See, it's not that difficult. Pretty simple pieces that go together to put this together. But yeah, that's basically it on how to build a lightsaber from scratch like this. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment down below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. If you want to see more of the construction, I know this was less of like a actual hands-on tutorial, more of a how I did this tutorial. Leave a comment below. I can make a video on that. Also, if you're interested in the electronic design that I've done for this, I'm designing it completely from scratch. Let me know. I can make a video on that too. I'm currently working on another design too while making this video, and I'm going to post that one as soon as it's done. Actually, I have it here if you want to see a little sneak peek of it. It's in the rough stages, as you can see, and not finished completely yet, but it's a little bit more advanced, has more styles, curves to it. So I'm going to be making a video on that soon. So yeah, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on that next video. But guys, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.